It's the Center Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Yes! Yes! Yes, this is my favorite part of the game.
Analyzing all of the league matchups week to week.
You can't win!
Get him a body bag! Finish him!
It is a bit above average.
I said this sucks, and basically so do you.
And discussing the boom, bust, and hidden gem players throughout the league.
We ain't found shit!
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Laces out.
Touchdown!
And here's your host,
Allow myself to introduce myself.
David Harbatkin. Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast for the semifinals of Season 5 of the Center Fantasy Football League. I am your host, David Harbatkin, joined by the Commissioner, Mr. Gay Zaletzky.
Salute everyone.
So, there's so much to get to in terms of games. I was excited to be talking about last week's games. There was one really exciting one not so much. And we will get to all of that, but obviously we have to address the ridiculous elephant in the room, which is this horse manure move and just bitch move by Lombardi and Eugene. So for those of you who have not read the Facebook post or are not familiar what's going on, and this kind of gives away the result of last week, but Lombardi got bounced from the playoffs last week. His season is over. He technically has a 5th place game against LeVar, which gives away the other game. But anyway, he's done for the season. For anything that means anything. So, last night on the waiver wire, well, all right, I'll set this. So Geese lost his quarterback, McClown, in the game last week, so he doesn't really have a quarterback. So in the waiver wire, Eugene decided to try to pick up all of the remaining quarterbacks, which is actually,
It's diabolical.
I tip my hat for this move. I think that it's, it's diabolical, but good for you. Of course, he left Joe Flacco sitting out there with a matchup against Cleveland, so Geese picked up Flacco last night. And in doing so, Geese decided to retaliate by picking up all of the remaining running backs that were left. Now, I got out of the movies last night, and I had bid on Nick Foles. So Eugene didn't actually get all of the quarterbacks, but I picked up Nick Foles because I needed a quarterback because Cousins has been sucking. I bid whatever I bid for him and got him. And then I think I picked up Williams from San Diego. And then I saw that Eugene, in his quest to eat up all of the quarterbacks, happened to drop Tariq Cohen, who's not been bad lately. So I picked him up. And then ended up dropping Williams because obviously that's a better player. I still don't know who I'm going to play at the flex position anyway, because I have a bunch of running backs, but I might actually play Cohen. If not this week, then maybe next week. Anyway.
Let's get back on track again. Get back to the point.
All right. So we'll get back to the point. So, then this morning, Lombardi, who once again is out of the playoffs and who happens to work with Eugene, conveniently drops Theo Riddick, who got 27 points last week. Now, mind you, Geese had picked up all of the other running backs, so there's and Eugene really doesn't have an RB2 at this point. I mean, he has Darkwa and Bilal Powell, so he could technically field somebody, but he doesn't have anybody that's like in any sense a legitimate RB2. And so Lombardi just happens to conveniently drop Riddick, who 14 minutes later is picked up by his office mate, Eugene.
Conveniently solving his RB2 problems. That's convenient.
Yeah, that's convenient. In what is obvious collusion, I mean, anyone can see it, unless you're stupid. So yeah.
And for those of you who missed Dave's Facebook post already about the situation, let's play Devil's Lombardi just to go into this a little bit, because had Lombardi witnessed two other teams doing this, he would have hounded them. Would have hounded them to no end about how illegal this was. So let's take a quick gander at the options that Mr. High-End Coach One that I called him last week. Let's look at his other options on what he could have done. Just briefly, we have Derrick Henry, who could have been dropped from the roster. A paltry 8 points last week. We've got a second defense. I mean, we're out of the playoffs. Why are we carrying two defenses at this point anyway? And that second defense got 1 point last week, right? The New England Patriots. That player could have been dropped. How about Jermaine Kearse, who got 1 point, 4 points, and now has no quarterback to throw to him anymore? That's 3 viable drops off of your team. But instead, we're going to drop a running back who gets 27 points last week, and who clearly, with those kind of numbers, can help Eugene, who has no RB2 to speak of. I mean, is that coincidence? Or is that high-end, or low-end colluding Coach One, which is Lombardi's new title?
Yeah. It's obvious, and it just, I mean, in addition to it just being a bitch move, it ruins the integrity of the entire league. I mean, it really does. Because look, the whole point of fantasy is to build up a team and try to, get to the playoffs. Then when you're in the playoffs, try to win with that team. I mean, yes, you could pick up I have no problem picking up players off the waiver wire or anything else like that. But essentially what this is saying is like, once you get to the semifinals or the finals or even just any level of playoffs where teams are eliminated, those teams should just have a fire sale and hand them off to their favorite remaining playoff team. And it completely ruins the integrity of any fantasy football by doing this. And mind you, we've had, this is now the 5th season. Nobody's even thought about doing anything this shady, crooked, or just downright loathsome in the past. And look, I'm well aware that Gies is the commissioner. So there's not right now a third party who can step in and say, who can overturn this. I mean, if he were to come in there and do this, people, would be up in arms and saying, well, Gies is just doing this because this is his opponent, and he's trying to impact his own game, and that's bullshit. I mean, these two obviously colluded, and these two obviously, while they didn't break any letter of the law, they broke every spirit of any kind of fantasy football game. They have absolutely no integrity. If Eugene does this and plays his and he wins anything, even if he gets to the finals, it will be forever tainted. And so we're not, Gies, you're not going to take any actual action on this.
No, officially, it's a little bit suspect
You still there? Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, you're not going to take any action.
Well, ironically, it would appear suspect if I was to address this most heinous crime. I could easily be construed as abusing my powers as commissioner to affect the outcome of my playoff game, to push it into my favor, even though I have every right to rectify this atrocious and blatant attempt to collude between these two players. I mean, what other reason would Lombardi have legitimately for dropping Theo Riddick? We've already pointed out there's a number of different players that he could have dropped if he wanted to make roster moves. The one player you drop minutes later is picked up by your office buddy, your crony, who desperately needs a running back. I mean, it doesn't take much for the league to see what's going on here.
And on top of that, the player that he picked up was Teddy Ginn, who is out with a rib injury. So
he picks up a starting, quote-unquote, starting wide receiver who's still missing practice up to this minute with a rib injury.
So,
I mean, there's nothing legitimate about this sham of a deal.
So I would say, I mean, look, the ball is in their court. We're not going to do anything legally. Technically, I'm not sure if we could. I mean, I could scour through the rule book to see whether or not there would be a provision that would prevent this, but I don't know. But I could do that, but I'm not going to. We certainly will address this next year. There will absolutely be legislation proposed to say that once you are eliminated from the playoffs, either you can no longer drop any players, or at the very least, if you do drop players, you can, any of the players remaining. So any of the players, if you've been eliminated, and you drop a player, any of the players remaining cannot pick up that player. The Lombardi rule, as we'll call it.
Exactly.
So we will address it next year. But at this point, we're not going to take any action officially. But I would call upon Eugene and Lombardi to take into consideration the integrity of the league, and I would ask them to honor the spirit of what is fantasy football. And Eugene should drop Theo Riddick. I'm not going to pick him up. Geese will not pick him up. Certainly Nick and Jamie should not pick him up. And if they do, we will, and they're unaware of what's going on, we'll certainly ask them to drop it afterwards, but they should not have them either. Nobody that's left in the playoffs should pick up Theo Riddick, and you have the commitment from the two of us on this broadcast that neither of us would. And Lombardi really should just pick him back up and drop maybe the defense, or who was the other guy? Curse or whatever. If you really desperately...
We're not telling Lombardi who to add and drop. We're just saying that this particular situation is highly suspect.
Right. And
ironically, the reason I'm not taking action is because I'm directly involved in the game. Ironically. Otherwise, I can assure you that this move would be immediately voided out. And I've not been directly involved in the game itself.
Right. So we would call upon the two of you to do the gentlemanly thing. Because if you don't, and Eugene makes the finals based on this horse manure, I can tell you right now, if I am not in the playoffs and Eugene makes it into the finals with this horse manure, I will certainly consider giving Nick and Jamie in the championship game all of my best players. And I would encourage the league.
Now we're talking about turning this league into a total free-for-all, a farce.
That's not
why we set this up.
which is what they're doing, which is why I would say don't do this. Don't make us go down this road where it becomes an absolute farce. Play this on the merits. Just do that. And look, and I say I would consider that. I might not. I might not do that. I don't know. I would have to think long and hard whether or not I would. Because we're not out here calling Dr. Hockey like, hey, Eugene just did this bullshit. Why don't you drop Julio Jones conveniently and put him on your team, and then we just have an all-star matchup between all of the losers that didn't make the finals. No, it ruins the entire integrity of the league. So we're not calling for that. I can tell you there are other things that can be done. I still have not booked it.
Unless we make a complete mockery of the finals. The two teams that get to the finals, all the other teams drop their squad and you get to pick from a superstar squad. But if my player helps you, I get a piece of the winning pot.
Right. Which I don't want to do that. I want to play this on the merits, which is what we've done every season in the past. And I think the champion should have earned it, which if this goes forward, you will not have. So and nobody will ever, you will always have an asterisk by your name. Nobody will really call you a champion. We'll just call you the colluder. So I would call upon you to not do this, and you have till Saturday. Drop Theo Riddick from your lineup before then. Like I said, I've not booked my ticket to the collusion cabin in Port St. Lucie yet. I might find it very. I mean, look, I don't know for sure that I'm going, although I probably will go to the Center Bowl. But I'm not saying that a boycott of the collusion cabin is not out of the question. I'm saying that there are other pressure points.
Cabana.
Yeah, the cabana, the collusion cabana. I'm not saying that there aren't other pressure points that could be put on from this outrage. But I'm saying right now, let's not get into what those scenarios could be. Let's just be adults here and do the right thing.
How is Lombardi going to go on and on and on about the Le'Veon Bell trade for weeks on end, about the integrity of the trade, and then pull a stunt like this?
I mean, does he have any...
it's just... come on.
Does he have any pride in himself? Also, like, really, honestly, how much of Eugene's bitch are you? Like, it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for Lombardi at this point. Like, not only, and we'll get into this game in a minute, but not only do you get your ass handed to you in embarrassing fashion, but then you just roll over and give it up to Eugene. I mean, like, how pathetic are you? Like, you're like, I'm embarrassed for how pathetic you are, Lombardi, at this point. Like, it's just embarrassing. I mean, like, you not only are you a sore loser, but you're just a pathetic like seriously? like you, I have never. I mean, I recall Sorrow being led along in a dog collar by Kylan, and he was less of a bitch than you are to Eugene right now. I mean, look, and I am sure that Eugene must have rubbed it in immediately as it was happening. There were probably text messages being sent back and forth. What were you saying that Eugene probably was saying to Lombardi the other day?
Oh yeah, you didn't even make it to face me. Leave those documents at the door. You can't even make it to my desk.
I mean, it was probably merciless. But have some pride in yourself. And, just have some pride. Like, my God, how much of Eugene's bitch are you? Like, I feel sorry for you. But still, there remains time. Rectify the situation. Do the right thing. I have no problem with the quarterback stuff. I think that is totally legitimate. I think it's totally within the realm of fairness. I mean, it's diabolical, but I actually almost pat you on the back for that, because I think that is. I mean, I almost pat you on the back for it because you left out Flacco, who's playing Cleveland this week and who actually has had 2 good games. So, I give you an A for effort. Execution, not so much. But you almost pulled it off. I mean, and for Jay Cutler, who's going into Buffalo, like, I certainly would have picked up Flacco instead and maybe left Cutler if you were going to do that, or just go get all the quarterbacks. And Geese going and picking up all the remaining running backs that are left. Look, those are the kind of shenanigans that are totally fair game. I have no problem with that. But to take a player that's eliminated and to just drop your player for your office mate is just bullshit. And let me tell you something. If Geese and I had done something like this, if I had been eliminated last week and Geese was playing this week, and then suddenly Kareem Hunt and LaShawn McCoy and Thalian end up on Geese's team to play Eugene, let me tell you something. The league would explode.
This league would have come to an immediate shutdown. With court cases left and right.
Yes. Injunctions. I mean, it would have been... and it would have been justified. It would have been justified. If I had been eliminated last week, not that I was playing last week, or vice versa, if Geese had been eliminated last week, and I was playing this week, and then suddenly, his players just happened
to... Why don't you take Vic's cakes? He's gotten 20-plus points the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He Drake's cakes, there you go.
If he just happens to end up on my team... I mean, and it's not even an apropos comparison, because I at least have, players at each position, like... Or if Geese needed a quarterback, because his quarterback went down, and I had dropped... Cousins, or if I had, like, or if the Millennials or something dropped Alex Smith or whatever, or who's a really good quarterback this year, I don't know, or if Nick suddenly dropped Aaron Rodgers when he plays in the finals, like, the league would rightfully be up in arms. I mean, this dwarfs the veto controversy from years ago that happened with Jamel. And on top of that, by the way, I actually ended up saying, okay, I didn't like it, but I said, okay, and I returned the trade. I mean, I let the veto go through. I didn't stop playing or anything else like that. I just said, okay. And then I ended up building a team, and I ended up making it to the championship anyway. So I'm not saying that Eugene can't make it to the championship. I'm just saying, do the right thing here. Save the integrity of the league. And then, yes, next year we will pass legislation to absolutely bar this kind of nonsense. But in the meantime, just do the right thing. We're not going to take action against you. I mean, not within the confines of the league. We're not going to pull any levers. We're saying to you, do the right thing. And Eugene, go out there and get another running back. Or play Darkwa or Bilal Powell. But don't do this. This is bullshit. Just don't do it. And if you do the right thing and you win outright, then you deserve the bragging rights that you will have earned. If you don't do that and you play, even if you're just playing for this week, it will forever be a tainted championship. Don't ever bring it up, because the response will always be asterisks.
And Lombardi right now, his credibility right now is in serious jeopardy.
I know.
I mean, the entire Le'Veon Bell tirade all season long, and now this classless, low-end collusion Coach One move. I mean, two things either happen. Either you work in the same office and you're taking a leak, and Eugene sneaks into your office and presses the drop button, and you have no idea what's going on. Or B, he's like Dave said, Eugene pulls your puppet strings and says, all right, drop this guy. All right, yes, my master. Let me go drop him. And then he just picks him up. I mean, either one or the other. Can you be trusted to work in the same office together? Come on, we're all adults here. This isn't kindergarten. What are you doing? High-end Coach 1. Is this what you're going to stoop to? Come on, Lombardi. Give me a break.
Anyway, I think that's all.
Anyway, we do have some games to cover at some point.
Yes, we do. So let's get to that. Let's get to last week's games. It was actually we'll start with the game that I actually thought was going to be the really close game, and I thought it was going to come down to the Monday night. It turned out to not at all happen. That is Nick and Jamie versus the St. Louis Blues in one of the wild card games. Nick and Jamie just demolishes. It was the biggest blowout of the week. 73 some odd points victory. So Nick and Jamie wins 163.72 to 90.16. 90.16, by the way, being one of the lowest scores of the entire week. It wasn't the lowest. It wasn't the actual lowest. The lowest was I think it was the Lightning Rods, who was on a consolation bracket bye with 73 points. But literally, nobody else got a lower score than Lombardi this week that was actually playing a game in either bracket, the one that anybody cares about or the one that nobody gives a shit about. So let's look at the scores here. So I mean, basically, Jay Williams for, there were so many. This didn't even get to the Monday night. So Antonio Brown gets 32.30 points. 30.80 points from Williams in Green Bay. 19 from Bernard, who he just picked up that week. 19 from Boswell. 13 from Tom Brady, who had a very pedestrian game. Alshon Jeffrey with 16 points. 11 for Deion Lewis. And 13 for O. Howard, who was in there substituting for Gronkowski, who was suspended. For Lombardi, 24 points for Phillip Rivers, 17 for Keenan Allen, only 4.5 for Mike Evans, 8 for Lamar Miller, 15.1 for Devontae Freeman. Brait, the other tight end from Tampa Bay, ends up with only 2.1 points, filling in for Zach Ertz on his team, though. Once again, I think this happened whenever I played him. He had the opportunity to put in the backup for Philadelphia, and he didn't do it then, and he didn't do it now, so he really learned from that. Goodwin got 16.60 points, which is, that was a good pickup for Lombardi. And then one from Tennessee, kicker, Suckup, and New England only got 1 point. So, and then, of course, on the bench, 27.30 points for Theo Riddick. And 24 for Collins, but 24 for Collins. I'm surprised. I know. I'm surprised he didn't drop Collins also.
Here's a combo meal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because he only needs one running back.
Yeah, he only needed one. I know. So, in terms of this game, yeah, before it even got to the Monday night game, this was just a blowout. Nick and Jamie just firing on all cylinders. You've been saying this for weeks now about how dangerous Nick and Jamie is, and I think they just showed why.
Oh, yeah, this is with Brady not doing anything,
and Gronk out.
This team, and Gronk was even out. What are you going to do with this team?
I don't know. And they left what?
Well, I wish I was out of the playoffs so I could help you. Like Lombardi helps Eugene, but fortunately I'm playing these crooked shysters this week, so I'll have to wait till next week to help you out.
Too bad. Yeah, I know. No, they're...
It's too bad.
As far as Lombardi's team, look, Mike Evans, who we've been saying all season long is not good. You've been saying that since season 3. So he proves why in this game. Lamar Miller that wasn't also disappointing. So I mean, look, Phillip Rivers had a good game, not to the level of which he was having before, where he was getting like 36 points, and Keenan Allen had a good game as well. 17 points is good as well, but not to the level that was, he was getting the weeks before. But it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, like, look, 163 points. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, Lombardi didn't have a prayer in this game. There's not much you could say here. This is all Nick and Jamie. So, as we do at this point, I mean, normally we would just spend the time wrapping up the St. Louis Blues season. I don't even think he deserves it.
Let's just say Lombardi's had enough bonus coverage in this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna I'm not gonna waste my breath going over his season because he's not deserving of it. All right, moving on. Moving on to the other wild card game. This was a game that I actually didn't think was going to go all the way into the Monday night game, but my God, did it! So in an upset. Well, I can just go based on the recap headline. Hackettstown Hagglers comes back for thrilling upset over Black Ice Dynasty, and that was absolutely true. This game, as far as a fantasy game, it had it all. It was exciting. It had it all in patheticness. Like, it wasn't like this wasn't like an, oh my God, oh, back and forth. This was like, oh my God, this is atrocious. These were two train wrecks playing each other, and one of the trains had a worse crash. So, really, this game started. This is your game. I'll let you get into it, but it started on Thursday night with Kamara, and I'll let you take it from there.
All right, this is clearly an example of who wanted it less. LeVar kicked off the festivities with a concussion to Kamara on the Thursday night game, rendering him with 5.7 points. A gift to the Hackettstown Hagglers. LeVar's basically saying, here, take the game. The Hagglers respond with 20 points from Mohamed Sanu. But Matt Bryant does kick a 50-plus yard field goal. LeVar salvages it. It's 20-15 after the Thursday game. Interesting.
No, wait. Before you get into the Sunday games, talk about how how you were gonna substitute, like, right before the game.
Oh yeah, I didn't even have a chance to put in my other bungler, Tevin Coleman, because a coworker of mine reminded me it's Thursday night. Who you have in the game? And I rushed to my computer and only have time to put in Sanu. By the time I click on Coleman, I get the red message, unable to put player in. So I'm stuck, quote unquote, with just Mohamed Sanu, and Coleman ends up getting 3.5 points, which is a gift. So I make out in the game 20.3 to LeVar's 15 between his kicker and a horrid 5 points from Kamara, which puts me in very good spirits come Sunday morning. So the 1 o'clock games roll around, and it's LeVar's chance to really, build up a lead. And during the game, he just stalls out at 46 points.
Yeah, because
he must have been at 46 points for 2 hours. All right.
Basically, his entire team went at 1 o'clock, other than Gordon and Burkhead.
Yeah, he had the whole team going except for Melvin Gordon and Rex Burkhead. I only had the kicker, Matt Prater. So I've got the kicker and Sanu, who had gone already, and LeVar finishes up with 60-something points at the end of the day. And maybe, 60-something points at the end of the 1 o'clock games. I've already got 20. It's a laugher. A.J. Green didn't do anything. I'm telling you, at one point he was at 50 points. He went backwards between fumbles, defense giving up points, and interceptions. His team went backwards 8 points, which I think is a fantasy record. I've never seen a fantasy team lose 8 points at once before. So we got this in the bag, right? It's a joke. He's playing this tight end Anderson from Houston that up until the fourth quarter had 0. All right, I was just like, this is a joke. This is a gift. We got it in the bag. So 4 o'clock rolls around, and I'm with my chops. Melvin Gordon's putzing along, getting a couple points. And then I'm like, all right, baby, let's turn it on. And boy, did my team turn it off. All right? McCown sucked goat's balls. He was horrid, finishing up with negative 0.46 points, getting knocked out of the game, which, of course, was a domino effect which means Robbie Anderson didn't get dick. And the Jets defense sucks so bad. They were like, oh yeah, pick up the Jets defense. Oh yeah. They're going to rock Denver. Oh yeah. They were horrifically atrocious. All right, we were going backwards. Both teams went backwards. At the end of the 4 o'clock game, all right, Melvin Gordon conveniently gets a 1-yard touchdown plunge because Keenan Allen decides to fall down at the 1-yard line and out-trots Gordon once again all season long. So it's 80-69 right before the end of the 4 o'clock games, and this guy Westbrook catches a long pass to put us at 80-75 going into the Monday night game. Now I'm sweating bullets. LeVar's got Rex Burkhead. We've got Drake's Cakes over here, and I'm reading all the reviews, and it's 50-50 on who you should start and sit. So Burkhead busts out with a touchdown, and I keep checking the score on Monday night. LeVar's constant up by 5 points. Well, it gets to a point where the Patriots are trailing, and on the ensuing drive, Drake ties the game. It's 96-96, pretty much. And then on the following drive, he takes a skimpy 3-point lead. So I'm still sweating bullets, and the Patriots go on their final drive, and of course, they get it down to the 1-yard line, and I'm expecting a flashback to week 1 of this season. I'm sure all of you will forget Lightning Rods had Gillisley vulture 3 touchdowns, but they don't bring out Burkhead. They bring out James White. And the Patriots don't end up scoring, and we end up beating LeVar. A thrilling victory of bungling.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about LeVar's season all season long, or whatever, or his games all season long. He either like blows it up, or he has an off game, and it's like every other week. And this was the off week. This was the week, and like just even like last week, he had I think 146 points or something, and then this week he gets only 96. I'm shocked at the score that you even managed to muster 99 after that 1 o'clock game performance. I mean, McCown, 1 fumble loss, 46 yards passing, and an interception. I mean, you cannot get any worse. Yeah, I mean, Mike Davis, the workhorse, got 7.50 points. I mean, because I guess all the reviews, because you were actually in the situation where you, like, that week you needed an RB2. So you got him, I think you got Kerwin Williams, and you end up going with Davis because all the reviews said, he's going to be the workhorse in Seattle, of course.
He turned out to be a horse's ass.
Right. So, how many times has this actually happened to you with the Seattle running back? I mean, because the Seattle running backs have been on your team constantly, like this year, and they do the same thing every time.
Oh, I've been on the cutting edge of Seattle running backs this season. Let me tell you, it all goes back to what's that guy's name who went down with the freaking? He went
Carson?
on IR.
Carson?
With
Chris Carson?
Yeah, Chris Carson was supposed to be hot. He was hot off the press. It was finally his time. And I was playing, actually, ironically enough, I was playing the Whalers in that game, and he had Jack Doyle. Like, Doyle went out with a concussion, and like the next play, Carson went out and broke his leg. But I had just accrued enough points just to be ahead of the Whalers at that point. All right, and then in another game, we had McKissick. You can McKissick your season goodbye. He was supposed to be the next hot running back, and he sucked. So then now I should have just learned from those two losers. But no, everybody said, oh, Mike Davis is the workhorse. Oh, you got to pick him up. He turned out to be a total horse's ass. He couldn't do anything. And what happened to him? A groin injury. The Seattle running backs are a joke.
Yeah. But ended up getting just enough points. That 7.5 put you over the top. And you move on. I mean, like, it's the kind of thing where you just got to look at it and you got to go, you survived. It was a terrible game, but you moved on. So none of it, you put it all behind you. And you
have to look deep into the record books to see, or history books to see the winning team's quarterback have negative 0.46 points. Negative points for the winning team's quarterback? Probably never.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I can't think of any time that's happened, at least in my memory. But yeah. But so you can't say an impressive win. You just got to say a win, and the Haggles move on.
Both defenses 1 point and 0 points.
Yeah. I mean
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 4. Five players for me scored under 10 points. 4 players for LeVar scored. It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke of a game.
Yeah. I mean, but LeVar, I mean, here's the thing, though. So, LeVar, I mean, and this is the thing about LeVar's, all season. I mean, he picks up players at the last. I mean, he is so savvy on the waiver wire, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, like, you look at the moves that he even made in this game. I mean, like, I don't know where he gets his information from, but I mean, look, first of all, he takes out Mariota, who only got 5.46 points, and he puts in Jameis Winston, who gets 20. So that makes, a huge difference there. You look at he took out McCaffrey, who for some reason only got 8.3 points, while Jonathan Stewart got like 24, and he puts in Burkhead, who got 16. I mean, like that was he maximized, that performance there. I mean, I'm so impressed with LeVar. I mean, look, and the only other move that he could have made was potentially putting in Marquise Lee at 11.5 points, but you're not going to put him in for AJ Green. I mean, look, he maximized his roster. I mean, Anderson, the Houston tight end, only got 3.6 points, but what are you going to do? It's very. I mean, maybe he should have gotten Selleck or something from Philadelphia, but I mean, like the I don't know what he's reading. I want in on whatever he's reading, because he just makes such great moves, and it's feast or famine, and this was a famine week for him. But I mean, look, him and Shauna, they've been the champs for the last 2 years. And what more classic center matchup? I mean, this is what happens in the center all the time. You will, or at least historically, you would go on a winning streak, and then who would be there to finally put an end to it would be Minor. And now, Minor goes, and Minor would go on a winning streak, and you would put an end to it too. I mean, it happened numerous times in the BHL. And now it's happened here. So, I mean, hats off to the Hagglers for getting, for pulling out the win here. And just great job by Minor this whole season. I mean, he came from nothing. I mean, that first, I think I called him one of the worst teams I've ever seen after the second week of the season, and he really built a winner out of it. Playing Josh Gordon, just brilliant. Just great moves. I mean, and honestly, the difference is, Kamara going down with a concussion here. Kamara, he had 5.7 points, in the first few minutes. I mean, and had Kamara gone down prior to the game he plays McCaffrey, he wins this game. But it was only because Kamara is in the game and he gets injured right away, and he has to be stuck with the points that he ends up losing. So everything, just went the Hagglers' way in this game, in order to have you win this, and it's not in any way LeVar's fault. He just got a bad break this week, really.
Can't foresee a concussion.
No.
You just can't see it coming.
No. So, hell of a season. Hell of a comeback. And all season long, he was really in it all season long. And, so what would be your...
I gotta tip my hat to LeVar. He had a great season.
He really did. He really did. And to be honest with you, looking at his team, he could, if he could have just gotten another couple points, he could have been really in contention to win the whole thing, potentially, depending on collusion and whether or not it would take place. But yeah. Reflecting back on LeVar's season, what would you? What would be your wrap up for LeVar's season this year?
Well, I remember when you called LeVar one of the worst teams in the league. Since then, he was just on fire. He was just unstoppable. T.Y. Hilton had games where he was getting like 30 plus. Melvin Gordon was getting 30 plus. Then Kamara. You look at all the way back. Kamara was one of his best pickups.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's been on a tear all season long. LeVar's put together quite the lineup. Spending $0 in free agency, mind you. He had $200 left in his payroll.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, he beat me. He gave me my first loss in a week where he just it was like, all right, what am I gonna do? He just had one of those games where he just destroyed me. He was just.
And I got clobbered by LeVar. I just absolutely got clobbered the first time we played.
Yeah, No, I mean, and that's what would happen. Like if you played him on the wrong week, you would get clobbered. You just had to hope that you caught him on a week like this, which is what happened. Yeah, so I mean, he was up and down all season. I mean, he ended up with a record of 7-6. But I mean, if you caught him on the wrong week, he was just he was the last person you'd want to play. And it ends for now at least just a tremendous run between him and Shauna. Like, I mean, the last two champions, fighting with one of what was one of the real contenders for this season. So, tip your hat.
One of the oldest rivalries in the center.
This is definitely one of the oldest rivalries in the center. Goes all the way back to, well, not quite Nintendo baseball, but at least to the BFL. And everything else, I mean, this is just a historic rivalry. This is Yankees Red Sox or I don't even know. Like who else? Cubs, St. Louis, Dodgers, Giants. It's just yeah. So with that, oh, and he did comment on him picking up the Buffalo defense. He did make one move on Sunday morning because he makes a lot of his moves Sunday morning. And you were like, why is he picking up a second defense? Is he already looking past me?
That was an odd pickup.
Yeah. But oh well. So yeah, let's take a quick glance at the consolation bracket. Not going to spend much time on this. The House Targaryen beats Nikki Baby 142 to 137. That's an impressive score for Nikki Baby, who I don't think made any moves, nor should he. And like, I don't know where this came from. Where was this all the rest of the time? I don't even know where he got 21 for Fournette, Sean Jackson, Cook got 18, 30 for Adams. Of course, Hockey, who's kind of been hot of late. 36 from Wentz, 22 from Tate, 14 from Johnson, 13 from Lynch, 16 from Richardson, 10 from Forbath. Yeah, so Hockey moves on in the loser bracket. Nicky Baby finishes, or no, he's got the last place game this week, playing against the Millennials in the Who Gives a Shit Bowl. The other the other game in the consolation bracket, the Whalers special team finishes off the Millennials finishes them off to play in the Who Gives a Shit Bowl, in the toilet bowl, 118 to 85. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, Howard got 28.5. Thomas 27. Both
This is his first Ezekiel Elliott-less win.
Yeah, that's true. Elliott comes back next week when he doesn't have any games left to play, probably. Thomas gets 27 and 23 and 22 for Breeze, and whatever. Okay. That moves us on to this week's games, the semifinals. Winners go on to the 5th championship game. The losers still have a meaningful game the week after. They'll play in the 3rd place game, bronze medal game. Be playing for their money back. Before we get into that, I'm just gonna mention the consolation bracket games. I don't need to go through them because I don't care. But you have the Millennials playing Nicky Baby in the Who Gives a Shit Bowl. The Lightning Rod, the 2nd seed in the consolation bracket, playing the Whalers. House Targaryen versus Tillet Trey. That's actually vaguely an interesting matchup. And let's see how Teddy Ginn performs on the bench against Black Ice Dynasty in the 5th, 6th place game. The really Who Gives a Shit Bowl, or the Go Miner Bowl. All right. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, which of the two semifinal games would you like to start with?
Well, since you're the first seed, we'll save your game for last, so we'll go with the Collusion Bowl. As I'm apparently playing Eugene and Lombardi in this game, thanks to Lombardi's contribution to Eugene's team.
So right now,
Really a 2v1.
if you look at the lineup, he has Bilal Powell in there. Let's see if he actually sticks with that. So
I think that's just for show, Bob. That's going to be switched out.
I think so too, because I have no faith in any sportsmanship on the part of Eugene. Let's see if he actually pulls through. But we're gonna analyze it with whether or not, we're going to analyze it the legitimate way and if he goes the bitch route. So let's look at it. Let's look at the legitimate bowl. So actually, Eugene has some tough matchups this week. Now he's got Russell Wilson against the Rams. And Doug Baldwin against the Rams. Now they're a good defense. That's a tough matchup there. On the other hand, you have Joe Flacco at Cleveland and Westbrook versus Houston. I mean, I think you got to give the edge to Wilson and Baldwin anyway. But nonetheless, I mean, they're slightly vulnerable. I mean, the last time that they played the Rams, Wilson got 14 points and Baldwin got 7. So if you can get a performance out of, if that's the performance that they have, then you got a shot. If they have one of their typical performances, then you're in trouble. But I mean, at least this is a tough matchup. Westbrook versus Houston, you couldn't ask for a better matchup. Flacco at Cleveland. Flacco's been getting hot lately. I mean, and Cleveland is no. I mean, Hundley, I think, got 31 points. I mean, Hundley against Cleveland got 31. And, Flacco got 22 2 weeks ago and 21 last week against Pittsburgh. So, there's potential there for some points. But I am going to give the edge in those matchups to Eugene, just based on the players. Fitzgerald versus Diggs, obviously. I mean, Fitzgerald is playing Washington. So they will have Josh Norman on him, but I still give the edge to Fitzgerald over Diggs, who's playing Cincinnati. Anything that you disagree with or agree with so far?
No, so far you've been pretty right on the money. Actually, your guy Thielen can help me out because he's been listed as questionable with a knee issue, but he might play. I think he'll be ready to go, but if he slips on a banana peel, that would definitely boost Diggs' stock.
I did not know that, but that better not fucking happen. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. Oh yeah, and then the history of this matchup all season long, should he not go the bitch route. Le'Veon Bell, the subject of the trade, which is really what the talk about this game was going to be, I think, going into it, was like, all right,
this was the original controversy. Before the most recent news.
Yes, exactly. Though the other was a willing trade between the two participants, unlike this, which was just shafting to the rest of the league and the integrity of fantasy football everywhere. But nonetheless, Le'Veon Bell, going versus New England. Now this is a tough. Well, I don't know if it's a tough matchup because here you had Kenyon Drake, get 24 points last week against this New England running defense. Now that Belichick's going to be up for this game though, so I don't know which way it goes. Now it could be they're calling for potentially snow showers. We'll see, but it'll be very interesting to see this matchup because look, Bell got 39 points last week, but Drake's Cakes got 24 and won you the game last week. So obviously you give the edge to Bell, but Miami's going up to Buffalo. They're not. I mean, I can't imagine Miami passing the ball that much. I think it's going to be heavy Drake in this game. And look, he got 24 points, by the way, without a touchdown last week. So, it obviously you give the edge to Le'Veon Bell, but I wouldn't discount Drake's ability to contribute a lot in this game.
No, and I think Eugene feels the same way. He must be somewhat nervous, hence the collusion.
Yeah. All right. And now I'm going to skip over the RB2 for a second, and I'm going to go to tight end. So you got Jason Witt. So he's got two options right now because he also picked up Ebron. So Ebron going on Saturday versus Chicago, and Ebron actually had a good. Wasn't Ebron also from Lombardi? Whatever, I don't care. That's not my focal point. I don't even want to get into this part of it. That's not even my focal point. This horse manure will be addressed next season. I mean, I don't even know if it did or didn't. I don't even care. I don't care. Whatever. Ebron got 17 points last week. But right now he's got Witten in there, so maybe that'll be changed. But Witten playing at Oakland, I mean, look, Witten has had some. I mean, most of his games have been not that great, but he every once in a while has a double-digit game, and Oakland gives up a lot of points. So I actually think that Witten right here is his best matchup. Going against Jack Doyle, who's playing tomorrow night versus Denver. I think that's a pretty good matchup for Jack Doyle. I mean, Doyle ended up getting a touchdown in that blizzard last week. I mean, if he could get points in that, he has potential to get points in this game. So I'm going to give a slight edge to Doyle. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a fair assessment as well.
And then you have what has been consistently one of Eugene's best players, DeAndre Hopkins, but he has a tough matchup against Jacksonville, going against Mohamed Sanu on the Monday night game at Tampa Bay, which Tampa Bay has not been that good, and Sanu had certainly a good game last week. So I'm going to give the edge to DeAndre Hopkins anyway. His numbers have been ludicrous all season long. There was one game where he got 9.9 points against Cleveland, but other than that, I mean, he's just been fantastic. I mean, most of the season he was riding high on the back of Deshaun Watson, yes. But even when he didn't, he was still getting 20, 18, 17, 19, 16, and then last week, of course, he got 35. But that was against San Francisco. This is against Jacksonville. I'm thinking he's probably going to pull out, closer to the 16 to 19 kind of point range. But I still think I'm certainly going to give the edge to him over Sanu, even though it is a more favorable matchup for Sanu. And then, because everything matters, you have Brandon Walsh versus the Rams going against Butker, going against the Chargers. I'm not sure that Rams game won't have a lot of field goals. I think that they tend to, so he might get that. But you know what, Butker's good kicker. I think he got 17 points last week, so that's close right there. And then you've picked up the Miami defense at Buffalo. Going against the Philadelphia defense against the Giants, the Philadelphia defense against that horrid Giants team. You never know with defenses, but that's not a favorable matchup for you. I mean, Miami might. What did Miami? I mean, Miami played New England last week. They got 7. The week before they played Denver and got 28. So I don't know. I mean, I certainly give.
Well, I tried to pick up the Saints, but Nick and Jamie bid a whooping $40.
Yeah.
Defense, my God.
Yeah, I mean they when they want a player, they go get him, and they did. All right, so then that leaves us only with the RB2 position. You will be playing. Looks like right now Rod Smith against Oakland. Potentially get some points there. Obviously, he's the backup, but you know what? He got 33 points on your bench last week, and Oakland gives up a lot of points. So I think he's certainly going to outperform that projection of 6.9. So if we go with the legitimate game where he decides to play Powell, look, Powell, he sucks. He got 3.5. He did get 13 the week before against Kansas City, but other than that, 5.6, 2.6, 7.4, 9.1, 10, 0, whatever. This has been his weakness all season long, the RB2 position. Eugene has fielded a great team, but the one glaring weakness has always been the RB2. And of course, he may or may not rectify it with bullshit. So Bilal Powell against Smith. All right, well, let's start with what do you think Smith's going to do?
Smith may have another, decent game. I mean, the Raiders, like you said, they just churn out points for the opposing team. They have no defense whatsoever. I mean, you're playing Alfred Morris, I believe, against them, so it's either or. I think both those backs have a really good day against the Raiders.
Yeah, I do too, although I'm not convinced that I'm necessarily playing Alfred Morris, but we'll see. But yes, I do too. Now, if he goes with Bilal Powell, what do you think about that?
That's a rough one because I think Powell's actually third on the depth chart. The only reason he got a boatload of carries last week is because the Jets gave up and ran it up the middle at the end of the game. That was his boatload of carries.
Yeah. I mean, Darkwa, he's been horrid too.
Hence the need for collusion. When you're looking at this RB2 current lineup for Eugene, no wonder he went that route. He was desperate. These guys are horrid.
Yeah, but you go fishing through the garbage bin to find something. That's what you do in fantasy football. That's the whole point of the game, not to just fucking cheat. But anyway, now if he goes with the bullshit bowl and plays Theo Riddick versus Chicago. So Theo Riddick gets 27 points last week against Tampa Bay. The week before that, against the tough Baltimore defense, got 17.2. The weeks before that, he didn't get as much, but I believe Abdullah was in, or somebody else was in those. I think ever since he took over the role, he's been getting pretty good, double digits. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns last week, 1 touchdown the week before. That's been making a huge difference in his point totals. He's going against Chicago, who is not. I mean, they're okay. They're not the stoutest of teams. I certainly would, I think, have to give the... Well, look, I don't necessarily give... Even with that, I don't necessarily give the edge in that matchup. I mean, it depends. It depends on what he does. I don't know. And it depends on what Smith does. I mean, these are 2 wild cards. Even if he does play, I think that Riddick might have at least a decent game. Either way, hopefully on Lombardi's team in the 5th place game. But I don't know.
That's interesting. I mean, Christmas came early for Eugene. He opens up his gift. Oh, it's Theo Riddick. Theo, it's Christmas.
No, it's not even Christmas. I mean, he's
here 5 minutes ago.
No, I mean, it's the first day of Hanukkah. Eugene is Jewish. I mean, Shalom. Mazel tov. Mazel tov to my fellow Jew. Happy Hanukkah. I wonder what he's going to get on the 8th day. I wonder what bullshit Lombardi's going to give him on the 8th day as he gets ready to play for the final. Light up the menorah. Put on your yarmulke. It's time for collusion. All right.
All right.
So the projection of this game right now is 129.75 to 103.12. Dave's Secret Crush is already a 71% favorite. Now, mind you, the Hagglers have been under projected all season long. Even last week in that pathetic game, you still outscored your projection. I mean, obviously, I think Eugene is going to win this game. I think he wins it either way, whether or not he does it with class or with, being a bitch. But it's his choice which way he wants to go. But I don't think it's necessarily a blowout. I think the Hagglers have some good matchups here. I think that Eugene has some tough matchups. I think it could be a lot closer game than one would anticipate, but I do think that ultimately Eugene might end up getting to the finals. That's who I'm picking in this game. So not by wanting to pick, but just by pure score. I am all out rooting for the Hagglers at this point after this bullshit. Anyway, go ahead.
Look, Eugene certainly has tough matchups, but he has the firepower to win this game. I still have to, vote for the Hagglers because it's my team, but I'm just hoping that win or lose, Eugene does the right thing and puts in the right person here and gets Riddick, not only off, not play Riddick, but just get him off your team. Just, wipe away the nonsense from earlier today and just win the right way. Because, that's what the league's all about. You're going to start doing these shenanigans And picking up the quarterbacks, that was fine. That was diabolical. That was great. Nobody's going to really get on you for that. But this nonsense with Riddick and, 14 minutes later you ground, that's just nonsense. You got to just wipe it all away and just play, you have a good enough roster to win. Find a running back or put in Hatfill or Darkwa and just move on with it. I think we've already covered this at length. You got to do the right thing here. If we see Theo Riddick in the game, that's just ridiculous. That's so cheap. You can't, like Dave said, it's a bitch move. Why would you even do that? You got a good enough roster to win. You don't need to resort to this nonsense.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the other game, the other semifinal game, the 1603ers versus Nick and Jamie. Now, on paper, I don't even know. Record-wise, you look at the 1603ers, they're 10-3. Nick and Jamie, 6-7, just getting in because of their point totals. One would say, oh, wow. If you just look at that, if you're from an alien spaceship out of, whatever, you got to say, oh, well, 1603ers are favorite here. But no. No. Not even remotely. Nick and Jamie, this was the matchup I didn't want. I was rooting like hell for the bitch Lombardi this past week. And of course that didn't come through. They were demolished. I take satisfaction out of it now to know that that the bitch got out and his true colors were shown. But I was certainly pulling for Lombardi. I kind of wanted to see a Eugene Lombardi matchup. I thought that would have been fun, and I know that you and I definitely would have had fun in our matchup. But of course, now knowing what they did, whoever won that game, the loser would have just dumped their entire team in the toilet bowl for the other one to pick up in the championship. With the knowledge that I have now, thank God both of those two crooks are out of the. One of the two crooks is out of the fucking league. We're out of the. Anyway, getting onto this matchup, the Integrity Bowl. You have Nick and Jamie, who have done things the right way all season long, and have for 5 seasons, having their chance to get to the championship game again. They were the first ever champion. So that's another interesting thing about this, is that in one of in the Shenanigans Bowl, neither one of you two have ever been in a CFFL championship game. And this one, we both of these teams have been there once. Nick and Jamie would have the chance to be the first ever 2-time champion. So a lot on the line anyway. But yeah, this should be a good game. Now, looking at the game, you got Tom Brady at Pittsburgh. Now, this entire game is going to largely be dependent on this New England Pittsburgh game. Everybody is playing on that. And to be honest with you, you could go even, I could really make this an all New England. You put out your New England guys and Pittsburgh guys, I'll put out mine. I could really just put out Amendola, Hogan, White, and just be like, all right, Brady, you crown the champ. At this point, I'm not going that route, though we'll have to monitor this knee situation that you are alerting me to, which I don't like. What does it say about Thalian right now? He was limited.
He's still listed as questionable.
He was limited in Wednesday's practice. But it's a new injury for Thalian, but the limited practice suggests it's not a Week 15 concern. Okay, that's what I want to hear. All right, move. Anyway, so you got Brady at Pittsburgh. God, I'm hoping for a snowstorm. Open up the heavens for this game. Versus Nick Foles at the Giants. Now, Foles taking over for Carson Wentz. The question is, can he perform at the level that Wentz has been playing at? Can he do it for the remainder of the season, or can he do it even just for this game? The Giants are horrid. I like the matchup there. Even if Foles, look, Foles was not a bad backup. He was pretty good anyway, so I like the matchup there. He's only projected to get 15.5 or 15 points, but and Brady obviously projected to get more. But Brady's been struggling lately, though I wouldn't put too much on that, being that this is a meaningful game and it's Belichick. He had 13 the last week, 9 the week before. I think we're going to see numbers more like what we saw starting week 12 backwards, unless the snowstorm happens. So, Foles is an unknown commodity. I just couldn't take Kirk Cousins anymore. I mean, he's got a banged up offensive line. He just never he performs randomly, and this is a champion. This is a semifinal game. This is a game to go to the championship. I just couldn't chance it, and I'm gonna take my chances with Foles. But I'm going to, depending on the weather, I'm still going to give the edge to Brady in this matchup at quarterback.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. We don't know. Foles is a total unknown commodity. I mean, hopefully it pays off. You don't want to see a Josh McClown performance out of him.
No, but it is the Giants.
It is the Giants, yes.
So, I don't know. Then you get into the real meat of this. So you have the wide receiver ones, Thalian, who's been fantastic lately, versus Antonio Brown, who's
been godlike.
Exactly. So Antonio Brown, 32, 24, 40, 42. He had that 1 week where he had 7.7 points. I need one of those again. Going against Thalian, who also has been really good, 22 points last week. He did have 1 week, or the week before that, where he had 9.1. But other than that, 16, 24, 30, 20. I mean, he's been pretty damn good lately, especially now that he's been getting some touchdowns. Yeah. I'm going to give the edge to Antonio Brown. There's no matchup where you could ever not give him the edge. Then you have Alshon Jeffrey at the Giants. Alshon Jeffrey has been really good all season long. I mean, he got 16 last week, 10, 16, 18, 26, 16. I mean, he's been really good all season long. But luckily, Foles is at least throwing to him, so maybe I could... That was another reason why I wanted Foles, is because I could at least buffer some of those points. Going against Wallace, who's at Cleveland. Hopefully, your boy Flacco will be throwing some points his way. 10.2 last week, 16.6 the week before, 9.8 before that, 15. So I mean, he's to use low end coach 3 or low end colluder 3 terms. He's had a high floor, low ceiling, I guess. And I just want the consistency there. I want him to just, I'd like him to match up with Jeffrey. I'm still not totally set on this lineup, by the way. I mean, I still have Hogan sitting there. I mean, he got like 1 point last week, but I don't know how much I want to get into New England. So, I mean, Hogan might be playing there. I don't know. A lot's going to depend on what happens on Saturday to see what I need to do. I think I'm going to give the edge to Alshon Jeffrey in that matchup. I mean, he's got a great matchup against the Giants, and look, Wallace has a great matchup against Cleveland, but I mean, I think Jeffrey's just been doing better. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Baltimore's only recently opened it up. Philly's been opening it up all season. You got to give it to Jeffrey.
Yeah. So all right. So far, all of the edge goes to Nick and Jamie on all 3 of the top positions. I'm feeling good so far. All right, then you have LaShawn McCoy versus Miami, and Dion Lewis at Pittsburgh, another New England Patriot. God, I just need a blizzard. So McCoy's been great all season long. And Dion Lewis, this is the thing with Patriots. So like it ebbs and flows. And look, he got 11.7 last week. He got 9.2 the week before, 12 before that. I mean, look, but then before that he had 18 and 17. With the Patriots, it just depends on where who Belichick decides to put. I mean, it's very hard to predict. So if Lewis is the guy back there, he'll get a lot of points, get a lot of touches. If it's not, then maybe it'll be Burkhead or it'll be White or. who knows, right? So it's really dependent. But I am going to give the edge to LaShawn McCoy in this matchup. He's just been better. He's the only RB there. He's the only one who's really doing anything on Buffalo. So, and it's going to be in Buffalo, so it'll be cold. So certainly going to.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. It's going to be free. If it's another 8 feet of snow, count on McCoy to have another big game.
Yeah. So you would give the edge to McCoy too, I would think.
Oh, by far, yeah.
Yeah, and then Hunt versus the Chargers and Williams at Carolina. Now, Williams, I mean, so he had 30 points last week, 20 the week before that, 29 the week before that, and 13.5. I mean, Jamal Williams has just been a beast. And he's only had one touchdown, by the way, in each of those games. The guy's been a beast. And Hunt, look, obviously we all know what Hunt did in the beginning of the season, and then he just went nowhere, like, for so long. But he finally got back on track last week. He had 25 carries for 116 yards and a TD, so hopefully that's not just an aberration. Hopefully he's back. That will make a huge difference in this game. He's got a matchup against the Chargers. This is a very important game for both of them. Williams is playing at Carolina. That's a tough matchup. But I mean, really, Hundley's the quarter. I mean, like, I don't know. I actually don't know who I give the edge to in this matchup. I might give it to Williams. I'm not sure.
I mean, even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, I mean, Williams is going to get the ball.
Yeah.
He's their best offensive player right now.
Right. Yeah. All right, you move on to the tight end position. What a tight end matchup this is. Kelsey versus Gronk. Can you ask for a better tight end matchup? Kelsey going versus the Chargers, Gronk going at Pittsburgh. I mean, Gronk coming off the suspension. I think they're going to feed him the ball a lot. But Kelsey's been doing well lately too. I'm going to give the slight edge just because I think they're going to feed Gronk the ball a lot to Gronkowski. But I mean, these are two dynamite tight ends going against each other. I mean, you couldn't have a better matchup at that position than this, I don't think. Who are you going to give the edge to there?
Oof, this is a tough one. Kelsey versus Gronk. Ooh, man, that's a rough one. Kelsey gets off to a fast start. I'm actually going to give this one to Kelsey.
Interesting.
Just because the Steelers are going to be in the snow in a very tough game. This is going to be a knock your socks off game. It may not be as high scoring as the Chiefs and the Charger game.
Yeah. And then moving on to the flex position, Robert Woods is coming back against Seattle. So it's a tough matchup with Seattle. But Robert Woods, when he was... Look, I mean, so earlier in the season, he had pedestrian numbers. Then he just caught on fire, and then he got injured. So it's a question of, can this be one of those games that he's just on fire? It's his first game back. I don't know. It'd be a tough matchup right there. Right now, we're, like I said, right now we have Alfred Morris in there. This is very dependent at this point. I'm considering putting in Barber. It's the flex. I might put in Hogan. I don't know. It depends. It really is going to depend on that, on what Hunt and Kelsey do on Saturday, to see what kind of, and even the Denver defense tomorrow night, to see what kind of point totals I have and see how much I have to really, if I have to keep pace or if I have to, just go balls to the wall. So I don't know. I think Morris can have a good game. Smith might be getting more carries. I don't know. This is the last game for both of them. Neither one of them is going to be playing next week. So Morris will be dropped. I'm sure Eugene can fish him out of the garbage can if he wants. Or probably Elliott will be on the on Dave's Secret Crush next week anyway, after he talks to the Whalers and colludes with him. So I don't know if I'm going with Morris, but I think Morris could have a good game. Otherwise, we'll see. I mean, like, I'm actually surprisingly kind of leaning towards putting in Barber there for the Monday night game. But we'll see. I don't know. I kind of give the edge to whichever one of my players I put there over Robert Woods, only because he's got a tough matchup and, it's his first game back. But I don't know.
I think if this is the week that Nick and Jamie, I've been talking about this forever, they put it all together, Dave, you're going to get clobbed. You better hope that they just don't have the cohesiveness right now and not all the pieces fit still.
Yeah, well, all right. Then we go to kicker Zerline, who is, most of the season has been amazing, but he's going against Seattle, and the first time he played Seattle was one of his worst weeks of the season. He had only 4 points, but other than that, most weeks he gets like 17 points, so I really got to hope that he has a good game this time. And then, of course, Nick and Jamie have Boswell once again, hoping for a blizzard so that he can't kick. So many players in that New England. I mean, how many players is that in the New England, New England Pittsburgh game? I mean, and then you got like 3 of mine on the bench. So it's like Boswell, Gronk, 1, 2, Lewis 3, Brown 4, Brady 5, and then you could put in 3 of mine, which would be 8 players in that game.
That's ridiculous.
I know. So yeah, but we'll see. And then in the defense, Denver going at Indianapolis tomorrow night. I mean, look, the Denver defense has actually been coming on of late. I mean, they got 18 last week, of course, just destroying the Jets, and 13 the week before against Miami. But prior to that, they were pretty pathetic. So I don't know. We'll see. And then New Orleans versus the Jets, which they paid $40 for, and it could be worth every penny, as the Jets are horrific. They have no quarterback. The only thing I will say, though, is I tend to think that the Jets, as much as they're going to suck, I think they're going to play very, they're going to play ball. They're just going to hand it off. They're just going to have, here. They might not score. They might get shut out, but I think they're going to just play so conservative. I don't think, I don't think there's going to be interceptions, because I think they'll put you like 5 passes all game. They might get a lot of sacks. I don't know, but I don't even think he's going to drop back to pass. I think, I get picking up New Orleans, but sometimes when these teams lose their quarterback the next game, especially when you're as horrific as the Jets, you just go into a shell and you just play tremendously conservatively. So I don't know. I might actually give the edge to Denver just because of that in this. All right. So I actually think we're going to be in agreement on our projection. Right now the projection is 132.90 in favor of Nick and Jamie to the 1603 is 122.27. Look, it all comes down to that New England game. It comes down to what the weather is like there. It comes down to whether or not it's a low scoring affair, or if it's a shootout. Look, if it's a shootout and everybody gets points, and Nick and Jamie is they are on their way to the championship. If it is a slogfest and nothing really happens for 60 minutes, then that is the 1603ers ticket to the championship game. Really all comes down to that game. I still just based on the projections, being honest, Nick and Jamie is the prohibitive favorite in this game. I don't want them to be, but I picked them in this game because they just and I don't know. Lombardi can give him Eugene his whole team if they end up playing each other. I don't think it might make a difference. So yeah, I am picking Nick and Jamie to win this game. I don't want to, but I am, and it will be tremendously upsetting if it happens. But nonetheless, that is my honest assessment and pick.
Well, I mean, there's not many areas where the O3ers are favored in this analysis breakdown area here. So for me to pick the 1603ers would be I mean, you're talking about the upset of the millennium right here. These guys are brutally stacked. But the weather may play a factor in the Pittsburgh. That's your only saving grace. If it's a slogfest that neutralizes like 50% of their team. Right, so 3, 4, 5 in the kicker. Yeah, that's more than 50% of their team is invested in that. So it all comes down to that. I mean, maybe the New Orleans defense bails them out, but I don't know. Robert Woods is coming back from injury. It's not a complete mowdown. You don't get creamed if that's a slogfest. But like you said, if they're throwing it around and it's a high-scoring affair, Dave, you better pack that game full of Patriots. And say your prayers, because otherwise you're finished.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for this week. I was a lot more excited last night before the bullshit started to happen, but maybe I can get excited again and hope that there is some integrity left in this league. But yeah, I don't know. It is semifinals week. We are coming down to the wire. Next week will be the championship game. We'll see who's in it, and of course there'll be the third place bronze medal game as well. I wish good luck to you and to Nick and Jamie for these upcoming games. And depending on what if he does the right thing, I might wish Eugene luck as well. If he doesn't, then I don't know. I hope Theo Riddick plays one play and gets a concussion. Okay.
Well, good luck to you as well. I'm back today. Good luck to Nick and Jamie, and good luck to my opponent Eugene. Just the hell of it, sort of a sportsman-like wishing good luck.
Yep. All right, so that's gonna do it. It should be a fun week, and we'll see you here next week to break down the other two games. Both of us are gonna be in those games, one of the two or both. Anyway, so we will certainly be here next week. And yeah, have a fun time, everyone.